what are the more high-level metrics you should be looking at, and then where you can actually dig deeper into your conversations to get more insights. And so what you're seeing here, first off, is our main dashboard. These are going to be snippets of reports we like to show our clients on a day-to-day basis. So it includes, your performance stats, like your message activity with user activity with comparisons to the previous week. This is your bot's first week being plugged in, so obviously there's no comparisons to the previous week. But as you can see here, we are working with a total of 2 users with 14 total messages, and we can expect this to grow as you continue to get more traffic. Now, down below here, we have the live message rate and the recent transcripts. This gives you an idea of when messages are coming in throughout the day, and for you to ensure that your bot is up and running and nothing's broken, and you have the ability to jump into the actual transcripts to see what are users saying to your bot. And down below, we have snippets of the message reports and as well as retention. And I'm going to get into all of these in more detail on the left side of the nav. And so the way I like to break down this platform is, the first section is what I call traditional metrics. These are your table stake analytics, things like understanding your user counts, like total users, new users, and then under activity tab, understanding your level of engagement. So we can measure your engagement in 3 different ways, such as the average amount of sessions per user, the average amount of time spent per session, as well as the average messages sent per session. We can also show you your retention rate, so how often your new users or your existing users coming back to your bot, and you can easily get a 30, 60, 90-day retention if I were to change this to a period and then change the day period to 90 days. Now, we could also show you your session counts and your time of day, so understanding what time of each day and what day of each week most of your users are going to be engaging with your experience. Again, this will get populated once we get more traffic into the bot. And that just about sums it up for the traditional metrics. Now, where we specialize in is actually helping you understand and read into the actual conversations themselves. And so the first level of looking at this is coming into the conversations tab and looking at the messages in and out. So the messages in are going to be the user incoming messages that are getting sent into the bot. And then the messages out is what the bot is going to be returning back out to the user. So this gives you a sense of, again, what are the most common types of messages getting sent in or out, and then from here giving you more context around a particular message. So let's say, for example, you have a person asking about, right? In this case, there's another example here where users might be asking for help, or they're asking like, hey, I'm searching for XYZ that your bot may or may not support, and you want some context around why the user is asking that particular question. So one of the best ways to do so is to actually look for your transcripts that contain that particular message. And so if you were to click on view transcripts here, this will pull up the actual transcripts that contain this message. And we are just actually running the backfill for the transcript reports, which is why you're not seeing the matching transcripts here. But in a day or so, you should be able to see all your transcripts populate once the backfill has run, since I just turned on the backfill for these transcripts. But the idea here is just to give you an idea, is to be able to give you the full transcript view for all your user conversations. So transcript is going to look something like this, where you can see the user utterance, the intent that has been tagged to that utterance by your NLP engine, as well as your bot responses. And so this can give you the full context about where the user came in, how did your bot respond, and what exactly led them to saying that about message. And again, how did your bot respond from there? So these transcripts are what we call the source of truth when it comes to learning exactly what the user experienced. Now, on the flip side, since you are using intents and an NLP engine to power the bot, we have this same report, but on the intent level. So this gives you a lot more useful information where you can start to now consolidate these messages in under a single intent. And if you were to click on these intents here, you can actually see the message or utterance mappings for each given intent. So for example, for North York, this is one of the cities that was chosen that has mapped to your city webhook intent. When there's more cities that are getting chosen, let's say like Vancouver or Toronto or whatever other cities that you have mapped out here, they're all going to fall under this city webhook intent, and you should be able to see all those different utterances here. So again, the intents will give you an idea on what are the most popular use cases people are requesting, and you can see them all wrapped up under the intents view here. And then when you click on the 3 dots, you also have the ability to, again, search and filter your transcripts that contain this particular intent. Now, one of the intents that we really focus on is what we call the fallback or the not handled intent. And that's the intent that essentially gets triggered whenever a user sends in a message that your bot currently doesn't support. For example, if the user is asking like, what is the weather like today in North York, right? It's not exactly something your bot is supporting, and that's going to be mapped under what we call the not handled intent. And anything that gets mapped to the not handled intent, your bot is going to respond with, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Is there something else I can help you with? So we don't have this report configured just yet because it looks like we are missing that concept of the not handled intent, or it just hasn't been triggered just yet. But once it does get triggered, we can track the frequency of that not handled intent to basically show you what is the overall failure rate of your chatbot. And in order to help you lower that failure rate over time, we actually roll up all the individual not handled messages down below. So again, examples like what is the weather in North York, or who is the mayor of my town, or any other various use cases that your users are asking for but your bot doesn't only current support, are all going to be rolled up under this view here. And this can really help you understand what is the new content you should be prioritizing into the bot based off of what your users are actually requesting. From here, you can also identify new training phrases for existing intents that you didn't anticipate beforehand, and then use it to help you improve your NLP model and NLP accuracy over time. Now, in addition to that, we do have an intent entities report. So for something like a city webhook, we have entity values or slot values for, let's say, the GeoCity, which in this case right here is North York. So when we do start to look at the rollup for the entity values, we can start to capture, again, what are the most common types of cities that are getting triggered and sent in with this city webhook intent. So a great way to understand that business insight, as well as start to pick up particular cities that you might not be supporting and that you could potentially add in as part of your content roadmap. Now, that kind of sums it up for the NLP and message section. The next section I want to get into here is all going to be based around measuring user behavior. And so the first way of understanding user behavior is to look at what we call the conversation paths. And this is going to give you a bird's eye perspective of your user journeys based on the intents that they're sending in. So when they do start a session, it looks like 100% of your users are hitting the default welcome intent, which looks correct. And then from here, half of these are going to the menu about us, while the other half hits the default welcome intent again. Again, when you do get more message volume and you start to create more use cases and different paths people can start to take, you can start to be able to pick up what are the most common types of intent journeys people are taking, what are those most popular use cases people are coming in for, as well as where users are dropping off along the stage, along each conversational layer. So again, this gives you the best bird's eye perspective of your user journeys. Now, if you're looking to track a particular flow, let's say a user comes in to ask something about their city and they want to file, like a suggestion or a feedback notice for their particular province or their city, and it's like a 3 to 4 step flow, you can create a funnel to be able to track that conversion when the user makes it through each of those steps. So the funnel steps can be created using either the intents or the actual messages. So something like starting off with a welcome intent, followed by someone sending in like a city webhook intent, and then they can maybe have like a feedback intent and then a submission for feedback intent. Essentially, for any specific use case or flow that you've built, you can create this funnel and then track the user conversions as they make it through each stage here. And so that just about sums it up in terms of the reporting that you're going to get out of the platform. In addition to this, we have the ability to CSV export any of these reports out in case you want to be able to create something within your own database or like a Google Data Studio for your own visualizations, or to even just put this data into a deck or a chart.